Hello, and welcome to another episode of I Survived It. I'm your host, Khadija Phillips from Besties Media. Today we have a super special guest. Our show is about bringing hope and positivity to our audience. Right now, a lot of people are going through so much. And during these trying times, we want to bring some motivation and just a glimmer of hope by bringing you these stories of men and women who have overcome some huge obstacles, but they are making the best of it and they're making positive impact in their community. Today we have Miss Sophia Strother. Many know her as a woman who's built a multi-million-dollar brand even after a traumatic childhood. She's been featured on outlets such as Business Insider, Black Enterprise, Afro Tech, and others. But one less known story is that a few years ago, she was the victim of rape. She was kidnapped and assaulted by a man she met on a dating app. So we're going to bring her on. We're going to hear her story, and we're just going to hear how she's making it through. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello, dear.
I'm so excited to have you. I think your story is going to be really inspiring for a lot of women. As you know, a lot of women don't report their rape for fear of, not being believed. So just the mere fact that um, you took it to trial, I'll let you tell about the outcome of your trial, but just the fact that you even stood up for yourself and took it to trial is a huge step. So I applaud you on that. And just want to welcome you to the show again.
Thank you so much, Khadijah. I do want to say, and I preface whenever I'm dealing with survivors, that everybody doesn't get their chance to get their day in court. That does not mean that what happened to them is not valid, that they can't be affirmed, and that there can't be justice in other means. And justice can be basically being successful in your own right and thriving in your own right. That can be your form of justice because in Texas anyway, we know only 5% of cases even go to trial. And of those 5%, only 2% will end in a conviction. So the odds were not in my favor. And the experience definitely was not one that I would ever want to repeat again. And I wasn't going to report it at first. I actually didn't report for 5 days because I didn't want to go through what I ended up going through. I didn't want to deal with the undertones of racism that are in the systems. I didn't want to deal with, not being seen or heard, and I wasn't. I didn't want to deal with getting on the stand and the defense attorney doing his job. I can't even be mad at him. His job is to try to destroy my character and make something out of nothing to protect his client. And I didn't want to spend 4.5 hours on the stand in front of my son, who was also, unfortunately, a product of my trafficking life. As well, the only family I had in the courtroom when I testified, and as his tears are running down his face because he has to hear about these terrible things that happened to his mom, as I have my rapist staring me down for 4.5 hours. No, I don't want to repeat that, and no, that experience is not for everybody. And whatever your decision on how you choose to heal and deal, I support. Obviously, we need more people to come forward in order to truly put a dent in the epidemic of sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking. Because unless more perpetrators are held accountable, they're still going to feel like they can continue to go out there and do what they do. So I always like to preface that, again, for those survivors that didn't get the chance, I still applaud you and just your unction to just still live and thrive, not just be in existence. As I keep saying to people, I didn't want to be the walking dead. I wanted to live. And that's one of the reasons that helped me kind of turn the curve after a really dark period after my incident.
And it's a huge disparity between Black women and white women who report sexual assault too. Like Black women report much less than white women, and I guess I don't know, not to get into the race, but I just feel like Black women just aren't protected; they aren't believed. Well, let me back up. You met your attacker on a dating app. Had you ever been on dating apps before? Is this something that you frequently did, or was this like your first time on a dating app?
So this was actually my therapist actually recommended it. Um, I I hadn't been in a relationship in several years. The last one I was in was a bit oppressive and had some other issues. And so I really just, I did not, while I was going through my healing process of getting real deal therapy, equine psychotherapy, and through a psychologist, I did not trust my own decisions because a lot of decisions I made were in a hurt place. Being exposed to sexual assault by my father at the age of 9, and then my mom trafficking me from 13 to 15. Once I came out of those severe times of sexual violence, a lot of my decisions I made led into domestic violent relationships, other occurrences where I had to, as I say, I really did not see my value for years. So going into this space where I finally was free at 36, I wasn't trying to get back in relationships. But around 39, as I'm in a therapy session, my therapist was like, hey, why don't you try online dating? Because you travel so much
Mm-hmm.
with speaking, you don't get a chance to meet people. And I'm in Austin, Texas. And in Austin, Texas, it's not a large population of the Black community. We're here, but you got to seek us out. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
under 5%, I believe, of the population of Austin. And so I could literally go days and not see a Black man.
So you were
So
already speaking and speaking out about sexual assault because of what happened to you as a child.
oh, yes. I've been a very stark advocate against sexual assault and domestic violence. I didn't come out as a human trafficking survivor until I was about 36, primarily because I didn't see my mom as my pimp. When I was younger, and this is a lot of, I love to quote Harriet Tubman, and I'm paraphrasing. She said, I would have saved so many more slaves if they only knew they were slaves. My interpretation of a pimp was Bishop Don Juan. They on the
Right,
corner, they got their prostitutes or quote unquote they hoes on the corner,
right,
bring me my money. I didn't
right.
see my mom as my pimp. In hindsight, she did groom me and she did make me do things in order to secure funds for her drug habit and to pay the bills. But I thought this was sex for survival. So for me, I just lied about all of it because I was too embarrassed and ashamed that I had to do the things I had to do to take care of my family at 13, 14, 15 while I'm in high school. So no, I didn't come out as being trafficked until 36. And I was like, you know what? This is my truth. My mom was still alive at the time. She just passed away last year. But I can't keep protecting her based on my truth. Um,
Right.
and so, yes, I was already speaking and training and talking up, trying to really help people to see their value, even though I didn't even know mine. It's funny how I was really quick to try to help save everybody else and couldn't save my own self. It's something that we as survivors typically do. We got this fix a bear spirit. We want to fix everybody up, get them off. I said I used to have it for men. Fix a bear spirit. I fix them all up, get them ready for sale after I done invested all of this time, energy, resources, and he gone. But in all actuality, what I was realizing, I was trying to fix everybody else because I still really needed to be fixed. And I thought, if I fix you and touch you, maybe you'll turn around and reciprocate and pour into me. And I had to realize through some therapy that enough is enough. Like I can't keep saving everybody else and I'm steady drowning. And that's when I started to really stop to like, okay, I need to start really seeing my own value.
Okay, so wow. Okay, so your therapist recommended that you go on this dating app. So you get on a dating app, and then what happened?
So this particular app was Facebook. So, and I
Yeah.
remember it because Bridgerton, and this was a part of my trial. Go figure that. I don't know how we get there, but that's how desperate my rapist was. But Bridgerton had just came out, and I remember it distinctly because um, Facebook had just dropped their dating app. So it
Right.
was a part of Facebook. And so you could also join the dating app and it made it to where you could, potentially get matched with individuals that weren't a part of your friend base, which I wanted to make sure that that was the case. And so at first, and I was only on there 1 week, like literally, this all happened between first getting on the app, meeting this individual, seeing this individual and being attacked by this individual happened in 1 week. And it was somebody that I wasn't even physically attracted to. He was one of the ones in my pipeline. And I was actually impressed at first because everybody that Facebook matched me with were like engineers, veterans, accountants, lawyers. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I might could meet some professional people in my area. And so this particular individual, his picture wasn't all that great, but he was local. And so he was like, hey, you want to go to dinner in one of the towns that we're by? And I was like, sure, it's not no biggie. So we actually went to dinner the night before my attack around 7:30. Had a great time at dinner. I had already reserved in myself that it wasn't going to be anything more because I wasn't physically attracted to him, but he was a nice guy. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we can shoot pool, watch game every now and again. Cool. And so my guard was completely down with him because there wasn't going to be anything else for me. But in his mind, and again, I need to look at culture too. He's Nigerian. He wasn't here legally, come to find out after the fact. But maybe culturally he just felt like, my niceness meant more than that. I don't know, but I've concluded that I can't blame myself for the fact that he had no self-control, because I know I was very adamant about my boundaries and where I stood as far as us.
That reminds me of the trend that's going around now, where women are saying they'd rather be stuck in the woods with a bear than a man, and the men are so angry about it, which is actually proving the point. Like you can't, not taking no for an answer. It's like, well, I'd rather be stuck in the woods with a bear too. Nobody asked you, sir. So it's like, it's just a weird thing to say. So, I want to talk about the trial because I read what happened. So I'll let you tell it.
Yeah. So there was just so many times where between the judge, the previous prosecution, and local law enforcement, where I just was not seeing her. Like, it's amazing how a man that is alleged to be a rapist, that's not even here legally, that come to find out was also a convicted felon by the federal government, because he was 2 years before me was convicted of being a part of a 7-person money laundering Nigerian ring out of Houston, and got 8.5 years in the federal government, but they let him out in 2 because he was an asset for the government. But we fast forward, the judge in my trial knew all of this nuance. And after he was found guilty by a jury of a 2nd-degree aggravated felony for rape, the prosecution asked that he be remanded in custody until the sentencing trial, which was December 14th. The judge asked the lawyer, so how do you feel about this? His lawyer says, well, my client says that he has a baby due December 1, Your Honor, and we would like for him to be out. Mind you, I'm sitting here saying, like, why are we giving special provision for a convicted rapist? That's just right. And by the way, he doesn't even have legal visa status. So I'm trying to make it make sense why he gets provisions. Well, the judge granted him the opportunity to stay out. Stated, well, he's on an ankle monitor through, I believe, ICE. And so, he should be good. Well, literally the next week, he cut off his ankle monitor. Nobody on the federal government side even looked into it. We come back to trial on December 14th. Nobody can find it. The judge doesn't know where he's at. Federal government doesn't know where he's at. State doesn't know where he's at. His own lawyer doesn't know where he's at. I have to then get back on the stand, and they ask me again, so what is, how does this make you feel? By this time, there's no being strong with me. Like, I'm bawling out of control, because I'm just like, why is this even the case?
Like, that's super unsafe for me and my family. How old is your son? You said your son, was he there when the attack happened?
No, okay. He wasn't present. But as a result, he blames himself. So, like, he feels as though if he was around, if he was this, so like, I've had to try to give him resolve that no, this is not anybody's fault but his, the perpetrator. And there's nothing that you would have been able to do because nobody knew this was going to happen or going to take place. But basically, he was given 10 years, but obviously he has not started it because he is on the run. And again, for me, obviously, there's no closure in this until he's picked up. Like, it's none.
What are, I mean, are they giving, what are the police doing? Are they looking for him? Like, are they offering you any type of protection? Because, I mean, I don't understand how or why a judge would even allow something like that.
No, your question is just as good as mine, dear. I totally don't know. Don't get it. He won't respond to any comments. I've actually, media and others have requested to get his side. He has nothing to say, of course. But as far as protection, no. Once my trial was done, prosecution doesn't reach out to you. They're done. Local law enforcement had already been done with me. And so all I'm given is that the Lone Star Fugitive Task Force is looking for him. I do know that the prosecution's office, probably in the immediate week after, did their own intensive digging to see if he had crossed the border in Mexico, which he had not, looking up his vehicle and this and that. But I said he was convicted of money laundering, conspiracy, and fraud. Like, he knows how to make he knows how to make fake IDs. He's not gonna, like, he's not a dummy in the sense to where he's already gone through this with the feds. So there's certain things that he's just not going to do off top because he knows where that can land him. But outside of that, I'm basically on my own. So outside of trying to have my own methods of protecting myself or just being alert and aware, we have weapons and things of that nature. But again, who wants to live like that, where you feel like you never know if you're going to be in a grocery store and run into your rapist? And how do I know he's not going to try to seek his own revenge because I took his freedom away? So there's a lot of things that they don't think about when they're making these decisions. And like, I actually called for a meeting with the local law enforcement because there were things that I wanted to share with them so that they could do better with victims in the future, and prosecution. And that was one of the things that I asked them. I said, am I just a number or a docket, or am I actually a person? And those are questions that I feel that they don't realize they don't answer when we're going through the process of seeking justice. I literally felt like another docket number, but no value to Sophia Strother Lewis at all during the process.
Black women aren't protected. We're always just going to be a number to them. And I don't know. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, what is it like trying to cope while even during the trial, coping while going through the trial, trying, I guess, going through therapy, just trying to get back to who you were before that. You had already experienced some trauma, and to be an activist already speaking out about, SA, and now here it is again, it's happening to you. How did you manage to cope during the trial and now on the back end of it?
Since real talk, the last 2.5 years have been somewhat of a blur. I feel and attribute my only means of having a sane mind is my spirituality and my faith in God. Because I went into a really, really dark place and actually walked away from church for a little bit as far as going into the building because I couldn't front and lie anymore. I actually did an apology in December about I've been lying for the last 2 years. You go in church and everybody asks, "Hey sis, how you doing?" And I'm good, bless up the Lord, highly favored.
Right.
We have the whole thing already laid out that we give, because you, one, don't want to feel like you're exhausting people with your problem or drama. They don't have an answer for you, or you really don't know how to articulate, or it's such a dark place. Then they say, well, I thought you were saved, or I thought you believed in God. Why are you worrying? Why are you fearful? Why are you guilt? Why are you stressing? Why are you having seizures behind all of this? How are you depressed if you love God? And so I went through a period where I had to say, bump everybody else and what they may or may not say. I need space to really process and grieve the fact that I was taken advantage of in this way. And then it did trigger me, and it brought up everything from my past. From the age of 9, I've been sexually assaulted and or abused from 9 years old. And this incident happened when I was 40. There comes a time in your life where you question God, like, really? Like, this what we doing like my whole life? Like I can't
Mhm.
experience real love that doesn't hurt. I can't experience where I don't have to be manipulated or fearful of just my environment or interacting with men in general. Like, what's up? But I had to also, once I got to grips with the questioning and going through that first portion of my life, I had to really realize how much more do I want to give him? Like, I didn't leave my house for the first 5 to 6 months unless somebody was with me. I started wearing a fake wedding ring prior to me now actually being married, but wearing a fake wedding ring. I couldn't even go to work. I own a company. I couldn't even manage L2E Industries properly. I didn't go up to the lot because I was scared to be around a lot of people. Like I was done giving him me. And that
Yeah.
was more so my turning point was we're done. Like you can't get no more of me. I'm not going to be scared to leave my house. I'm not going to be scared to live. I'm not going to hate everybody because of what you did. And those were the types of things that I slowly chipped away. Not to say I don't have my days, like, because I'm this
Mhm.
is fresh. But my overall consensus is I'm not going to be the walking dead and that he cannot have any more of me. We're done. Those days, the last 2.5 years of my life with that nonsense is done.
Did you have a support system? Like, who was there to support you through this?
So I partially did because I wasn't as transparent with all of the details with my family up front because I needed to cope. Then I was still dealing with embarrassment and guilt and shame up front. So I kind of dealt with it solo outside of going to Wild Hope, which is a wonderful organization that was started by another survivor, Vanessa Schmidt. And so they had where they do equine psychotherapy, where I could do healing at the ranch with the horses and a therapist
No.
there. And then I had Cheryl Alexander, who was also my therapist in Round Rock, who has been there for me since I was 36, that I went on and off with when I needed her. So I counted on that until I slowly but surely started opening up to other family and friends of the depths of how much it was really affecting me. People just knew I was more sickly than normal because I deal with this stress caused a lot of seizures and caused me to be more of an introvert than I was before. So they
Mhm.
knew something wasn't right. They knew obviously it was affecting me, but we as Black women also have this got to be strong syndrome, like
Yeah.
this nonsense that we got to wear masks. Like we
Mhm.
can handle everything. It comes from our historical connection with slavery, and women had no choice. Our men
Mhm.
were taken away from us, and so we had to kind of be the ones to be strong and man up, quote unquote. And that's covered even now. What happens in this house stays in this house. You don't want everybody to know your business because everybody that's clapping and liking your posts aren't always for you. There's a lot of haters that follow you too. So I was really guarded at first because I did not want people to think maybe like it was a pity ploy or feel like I could not do other jobs or function in certain capacities because this happened to me. So
Yeah.
I waited a while before I got my main support system. And then one in 2023, after my mom and stepfather died in a fire, I was like, bump this. I need help. Like I
Yeah.
started to realize I can't expect people to be there for me if they don't know I need them. Because
Right.
sometimes we get upset. Why you ain't called when I was going through and you didn't offer X, Y, and Z. Well, did she know to call? Did he know to call? Did you let people know that you need them? You can't hold people accountable for what you don't say because we can't
Right.
read minds. So I started to reach out probably spring of
Mhm.
last year to people say, hey, I need prayer. Hey, call me. Hey, let's go do lunch. Like, let's get coffee because I needed to get out of this isolation bubble because I was slowly dying on the inside and the outside.
Yeah. I believe that the trauma is passed down through bloodlines, DNA, and just different things that we do as Black women, like you mentioned. The notion that we have to always be strong. I think that's called epigenetics.
It is.
When
I was actually going to study that. At that was my oh wow that you said that. That was actually my main thesis that I was going to work on for my dissertation about how trauma is passed down based on race and
Mhm.
things of that nature for my doctoral. It's so very true and evident. That's why we
Mhm.
also have health disparities now as well. Coming out the womb, we have
Mhm.
issues that we have to contend with and really be mindful of as opposed to other cultures.
And it's on both sides. I feel like Other races have, it may not be trauma passed down, but just different ways that they react and interact with us based off of what how they're taking it back to slavery, how they behave basically, and that's why they interact with us the way that they do. Um, but so getting back to your story, I mean, there's just so much to unpack there. Like, did you ever get have a relationship with your mother as an adult before she passed? Was it your stepfather who assaulted you, or was it your biological father?
So, my biological father that raised me, Andre, he was the one that actually abused me from the age of 9 to 11 after he succumbed to crack cocaine back in the late 80s, early 90s. And once he got clean, I was about 13 years old, and he decided to get clean. Um, Kudos to Denise Stewart. I always give her, that's my older brother's mom. I always give her kudos. And my father reached out and she was there for him. And he got out and got clean 6 months later after getting clean, though, after he had dropped me and my friend off at one of the shelters I was staying at with my mom in Holyoke. He had a withdrawal seizure behind the wheel, headed home to Springfield, Mass. And he ended up crashing his car into 12,000 gallons of gasoline that had just been filled at Mobil gas station, and he perished at 39 years old in a fire. And that actually is what sparked my mom to lose control in regards to her addiction. She moved to Texas, a town called Marlin, Texas, right outside of Waco, Texas. And she then started to groom me and traffic me, was basically my pimp for 2 years in that space. And once I finally left her, October 21st, 1995 is when I left her. My grandmother sent a one-way ticket for me. And at that time, I had my son by then, a 3-month-old son, to leave. And from there, I never looked back. But I always wanted a relationship with my mother, even though she went through that period of time when she was on drugs. I wanted a mom. Like, who doesn't want parents? You see the Cosbys. I come from the Cosby era. I come from the Different World, and all of these shows coming up, Family Matters, where you got both parents in the home. And I wanted mom. And so there was so many times I also tried to reach out to build relationship, because one thing I realized, my mom was a great friend. She was just a terrible mom. And I had to realize that I could not get from her what she could not give me.
Right.
She ran away at the age of 14 herself. And again, she was on the streets, met my father actually when she was 14, he was 18, and they had been together ever since. But, I really tried off and on. We would go through our periods where we would be decent. I even started a catering business for her because I knew that's something she loved. I was trying to maintain and keep her clean. And then she had my two younger brothers, all of which are in the background in the picture behind me. And so I was really like sister mom, because I was
Mm-hmm.
so protective of them, because they had to really deal with that lifestyle of having a parent that is not stable. And the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years of her life, I actually forgave her. Like, it was one thing, I said it, but
Mm-hmm.
in my heart, I really hadn't, because I still felt some type of way she couldn't be the mom I wanted. But
Right.
it was then I saw her in the hospital, and God just laid on my heart, like, Sophia, I didn't save you just for you. Like, your
Mm-hmm.
mom is a soul too, and she went through some things that she just could not cope with, and she
Right.
still hadn't been able to cope with. And so stop looking for things in her that I place in other people that I put in your life. So
Mm-hmm.
God's been able to send me people like my aunt. I had, a spiritual mom, S.E. Wilder. There's other women that God put in my life that really filled somewhat of the void of a maternal figure. And so that if I know that all I'm gonna probably get with my mom is a laugh and a chuckle here and there, but I'm not gonna get no guidance, no financial support, no any of that, I'm gonna stop looking for it, so I can stop being disappointed and mad all the time for what she is not capable of giving me.
Mm. Wow. Wow. I'm still floored about all that you've been through, and you still have this like glow about you and this light about you. Like my aunt would say, God rest her soul, but God, that's what she would say.
Listen, but God, and He sent me someone in my life at a time that I didn't know I needed him, and almost didn't even acknowledge or entertain him because I was distracted. But I'm so
Mhm.
glad that God allowed me to soften my heart and open myself up to my current husband, Javi, because he really showed me that real love doesn't hurt, and that I don't have to compromise my values. I don't have to lower my standards, that I can have somebody take all of me, the good, bad, and the ugly, and love on me in a healthy way. This is my first healthy relationship.
Mhm.
Everything I had prior to that was dysfunctional or toxic, to where actually when I first started dealing with my husband now, I almost pushed him away because I was like, no, no, this too good to be true. It's not gonna last. It got to be an ulterior motive. Something ain't right.
Yeah.
But like I said, that also was my saving grace, and I was very clear. He can't heal me. My
Mhm.
husband cannot do that for me. That is the journey I have to embark on. However, he allows me to have the resiliency in this world to know that everything that happened to me was not bad. Like, God
Right.
has blessed me with some very positive things, and this is one of them, that to where I can experience a man that's not trying to use me, abuse me, or take advantage of me.
How long have you been married?
Almost 2 years.
Okay.
Almost 2 years now. Yeah.
Well, it's still newlywed, so congratulations on the wedding.
Thank you.
And I love that you were able. It seems like you cried out to God and He answered you. So I
Oh
love
yeah.
that.
On many occasions, because
Mhm.
even after my trial in December, I'm not one to commit suicide. I will not.
Mhm.
And just my spiritual convictions alone. Not to say I hadn't tried when I was younger. I got still the evidence to prove it. But
Mhm.
in as an adult, I had said to God, if you're done with me, take me. I'm good. Like
Yeah.
I had just I most people had said when my trial, well, you won your trial, you ought to be happy, you need to move forward. Like, did I really win?
Right.
Like, is it a win to have somebody strip you down time and time again in systems, clawing your skin, your bare skin? That's how I felt. Like I was constantly being clawed, that I was in front of an audience completely naked, time and time again, and still no true justice at the end of the
Mhm.
day because he's still out there. No, I don't feel like I can just move on. I still have some things that I have to deal with and grapple with. But like I said, it really was, I got mad. I got mad. Like I was sick of just laying down for it. Like I have a local bishop that I have here. His name is Shelton Rhodes. And I love him to death. I love him to death. And I remember calling him and I said, look, I know you got a house, a cabin out, somewhere. I need some days. I need respite.
Mhm.
And my daughter came with me. She's a doll. She came with me so that we could get a couple of days away. And while I
Right.
was away, I was like, look at me running. I'm
Mhm.
running from my own life. I can't even, stomach my own life. And I'm blessed. Like, I'm in articles, I'm in television, I'm doing all of this, but I still had no piece of healing. And that's why I tell people
Mhm.
money is not everything. Don't get it twisted.
Mhm.
You can have some money, as we see with millionaires and celebrities that still die by suicide. There's still no peace. You still got to have
Right.
some peace in the midst of that. And again, for me, I was just like, I'm not running anymore. I can't run from how I feel. It's not fair that I feel like this. And I know I'm more than this. And like I said, I just had to get fed up. I was just done. I was done being depressed. I was sick of, I'm in a new marriage, and
Mhm.
obviously my trial and my emotions can affect my husband. And I was
Right.
like, man, I can't lose. I'm not going to lose this because I just can't get it
Right.
together. Like, come on, Sophia, let's get it together. That's when you start talking to yourself and be like, look, now enough. You didn't
Right.
cry. You didn't have your days. You might have some more, but you can't wallow in this mess. You can't do it.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like I said, the talking to myself, like that's what I needed at that time to like get out of this. So if we get out this bed, get dressed, get your hair done, get your nails done,
Yeah.
get something so you can feel good about yourself today. And we'll worry about tomorrow.
So, how do you feel about everything that you're seeing in the media? The whole Diddy situation. We were talking about Harvey Weinstein and his rape conviction reversal.
Honey, that Harvey Weinstein is just, when I saw the reversal, and the reversal is based on the fact that other women that he raped or sexually harassed testified at the trial. And so they said, the judge is like, well, that might have given the jury an unbiased opinion. Um, Even without their testimony, I think we would have drew the same conclusion that he's a pervert. I
Right.
don't know. That's just me. I don't think you needed that one or two victims' testimony to just, it was the nail in the coffin. I think jurors are smart enough to understand a serial perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you reversed the entire conviction based on that, you now have to put that victim, if they choose to go through it, which I know after what I just went through, I don't want to be on a stand again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now they have to go through it. Now you've just basically invalidated the other two victims, which obviously he took advantage of them, and then we've wasted taxpayers' time and money. Like, it's a mess. But because he has the money to have the lawyers to put these appeals forward, again, that privilege of money, then we're here. So it's like now you're gonna have other victims like, I'm good, I'm not coming forward, especially
Right.
against someone powerful. Why would I put myself through it? Because they're going to do a victim shaming campaign. It's a part of the MO. That's what they have to do when you have some money. So they're gonna do that. Who wants to deal with that? Who wants, like, I didn't want to deal with my case. Like, I told myself, I apologized to people I told they needed to go and press charges because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what I was asking people to get themselves into until now I've just went through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a travesty in the sense to where it seems like it's this ever evolving door of people with money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you think of Kraft, who owns the Patriots. You know, a lot, they don't talk about it anymore, but he was caught up in a human trafficking sting. Like, he was going down to this like piss poor strip mall that obviously a billionaire doesn't need to go to, getting happy endings. And because of who he is and the money that he got a slap on the wrist, he got it hushed up. Nothing happened to him in the league of the NFL. No sponsors pulled away from him at all. He continues to have money, his new fiance, wife, whatever, and we've just gone on. It's a blip in history. So, like, we see this time and time again, and Diddy is really R. Kelly all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what bothers me with P. Diddy, whether he did it or not, I'm not present. I can't say that like all of these people are lying. But now, like, all of these rappers and other people associated with them are on interviews talking about, yeah, I knew about the Diddy parties and blah, 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 but you didn't do nothing. So
Yep.
you're just as complicit in his nonsense because you stood to benefit from his money. So how
Yep.
do you come out now all of a sudden like, yeah, I believe Cassie, I believe all of these people that do, and you did nothing? Same thing with R. Kelly. He had an
Yep.
entourage around him that made it possible. R. Kelly alone did not do everything. He had to have a support group, just like Diddy, to be able to do what he did. And again, we're not talking about the other people that helped R. Kelly, are we? No, because R. Kelly is the main target. But what about the people that helped him? Same thing with Diddy. What about all these other people around him? Like, yeah, I knew what was going on, but I didn't say anything.
Yep.
Think
So
about
you're part of the reason so many women were victimized because you didn't say anything. You
it.
sat
Yes,
around it
sit
because you were
down.
worried about the bag, the money.
Exactly. Everybody trying to get that money. So we gonna tiptoe around all of these perpetrators, perverts, and predators because we need the money.
Yeah. So you have a symposium coming up to shed some, to give some light and some hope to, some survivors out there, some people that are trying to cope. Tell us about the symposium.
Yes. So a part of the healing process for me, God really dropped on me learning to exhale. It's a restoration philosophy. It's a three part that allows me to be able to help people kind of stop where they are to catch their breath. Whole lot going on. Sis, stop. Just
Mm-hmm.
stop for a second. Let's assess where you at. Because I say the mind matters, but the mouth can disrupt. And it's all about, again, having the power of life and death in your own tongue. Sometimes you got to speak yourself out of some things even before you even see it happening. Stop saying, oh, my nerves bad. Stop saying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm crazy. Stop saying I'm a little off or this, because you start speaking that into your environment, your atmosphere, and you believe that. And now that's what you become. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not crazy. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
off. I'm no longer depressed. Like, you got to start speaking those things so that you can start really embracing what you're saying. But then also, as you're speaking and you're taking stock, you need to start planning these things. Who's in your atmosphere? I call it my Fab Five. Your friends, your finances, your future, your family, and your faith. All of those things affect you. And so, with you knowing that all of those things affect you, how are you encompassed? Do you have family that's toxic that you still rocking with? It's okay to let family go. Just because you were born in it doesn't mean you have to stick to it. And my whole thing is, yes, I can love you, but I can love you from a distance. If you're not trying to do something with yourself, and that includes friends, if you're not trying to do anything, if you're always negative, you always broke, you always got a drum, I'm good. I'm shedding folks. These last 2.5 years, I done shed so many folks, blood and friends. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have time anymore because life, one, is too short, and I've been through too much. And then when it comes to your faith, what's keeping you grounded? You got to have something that is keeping you grounded to keep your mind. So when you don't have the strength to endure, that's when that faith kicks in, because you now have the lived experience to say, I have a relationship that I know in the past when I was going through this, God came through, or this came through, this happened. And so I have the experience now to know that these things will keep me. And then when it comes to your finances, where are you at? You can't be perpetually broke. There's no
Right.
such thing. Having a poverty mindset will keep you there. You can't keep saying, well, I can't do this, I don't have education. I know a lot of people that dropped out of college, Steve Jobs and several others, and they
Mm-hmm.
still were able to do it. You have to have the ambition, the mindset, and be able to put yourself with the right people and the networking of people. That's so profound. So at this symposium, what we do is we merge those essence about introspective looking, who are you, how do you think, through the Enneagram, also begin getting a toll of your mental, dealing with your financials. So I've been a consultant, a financial consultant and tax preparer for a couple of decades now. I have CPAs and others that are in the industry, financial planners that I invite to come. But let's talk about building your financial house. My coach Henry Lincoln says it the best: making sure you have your affairs in order, living trust, wills, succession plans, all of those good things. And then on the second day, then we deal with how do you change the narrative. So then I partnered with Q and Coda Films. I've also partnered with Magnolia Creative Waco and the Waco Faith and Film Festival, Family and Faith, Film Festival, to where we do a workshop the whole day that's based on acting 101, screenwriting, filmmaking. So now we can give you a trade where you can change your own narrative for yourself. That was a healing for me. Or if you want to go into that industry, now you have another skill set and a
Mm-hmm.
start where you can start on that realm of performing arts, filmmaking, again, commercials, writing your own book, whatever that looks like for you, so we can incorporate that into a healing process. So this just allows people to get like a holistic approach of mind, body, soul, and home. Because having that home life,
Mm-hmm.
have some peace in it, is vitally, vitally important.
And how do they find the information for the symposium?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me on my website, sophiastrother.com. So that's Sophia. Strother is Strother, as you see on your screen.com. Or they can hit me up on Facebook, Sophia Strother Lewis, or on Instagram. I'm also on Instagram at Sophia underscore not currency, or underscore Sophia's back. Either one of those, you are able to reach out to me directly and get more information. We're looking to host one in July and in August. If you would like to partner, if you would like to sponsor, if you would like to be a vendor and exhibitor set up because you have resources that we can utilize, please make sure you hit me up. We're also going to be partnering with Church of God in Christ and hosting some portion of that symposium during their convocation, where they typically have a few thousand that come out as well, in Waco, Texas.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I wish you all the best on your symposium, and just everything that you're working on. Hopefully, we can stay in touch. Um,
Yes.
yeah, you're a great resource for so many women. I love what you're doing with this symposium. I think that's really dope, especially the aspect of giving somebody a different trade, just something else to, like you said, heal themselves, and maybe just give them something else to do with their life. So we don't. A lot of the reasons that you listed are reasons that people find themselves depressed, and
Mhm.
finances is a big one. So I love that you give people a way to make money to get themselves out of the situation that they're in. Make sure you check her out on her website. Any last words? Any
Yes,
party motivation?
I do. Khadijah, first and foremost, kudos to you, sis, for having this platform, one survivor to another. Like, this is what's necessary so that others can see women of color surviving. Because one of the things I realized is I didn't have a me when I was growing up. And even in this industry now, there's not a lot of women of color that are on more of a vocal platform of surviving human trafficking and thriving, or surviving sexual assault and thriving, or domestic violence and thriving. And enough for colored girls, right? Like, enough for us seeing everything detrimental that can happen to the Black woman's lives and nothing that can counteract that narrative. And so for me, one of the reasons that I remain to be transparent about my pain and about things that have grieved me is because I feel it's incumbent to bring others with me. I'm not the only one that has gone through this. I'm not the only one. And there's been people that probably have even worse situations. And so I don't compare my trauma to someone else's. But what I want to do is allow people to see you can be an entrepreneur. You can be a homeowner. You can thrive, or whether you're, or the best employee you can be, like, whatever that looks like for you, you can thrive. That individual that harmed you does not hold you hostage any longer. Don't allow them to have control over your mind, body, and soul any longer. And also realize that you can change that narrative. You hold the pen, not them, you do. So just keep that in mind as you're having that bad day and you just, really triggered by what you're going through. Remember, you hold the ultimate key at the end of the day, and it's incumbent upon you to reach out and be an active part of your healing journey.
Yeah, I love that you hold the key. You can change the narrative.
Yes.
Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for watching.